In the age when the rivers of Mesopotamia carried the wealth of kings and the prayers of priests, there stood the great kingdom of Ur, the last and most magnificent crown of the Sumerian people. But from the golden sands of the west, a tribe known as the Amorites descended like a sudden storm. Their coming broke the strength of Ur, and the great kingdom fell into pieces, returning to a land of many small cities, each standing alone as they did in the days of old. Yet a strange wonder followed. Though these Amorite warriors took the thrones and became kings, they did not force their own ways upon the people. Instead, they began to speak the local tongue, pray to the local gods, and live by the ancient customs of the land they had won. Some say this story mirrors another tale from the distant land of Egypt. There, a mysterious people called the Hyksos arrived and took power. Yet they too acted as the Egyptians did. Because of this, the wise believed that the Hyksos and the Amorites were of the same blood, travelers from the same desert, seeking to rule the world by wearing the clothes of those they conquered. And among the figures said to have walked the earth in those distant days, there is one name that has echoed across the ages more than most: Abraham. Some scholars have wondered whether Abraham of ancient tradition may himself have sprung from Amorite stock, for his earlier name, Abram, bears a striking resemblance to names found among the Amorites. Such names were spoken in the cities and camps of the western tribes who had come to rule the lands of Mesopotamia, and according to the traditions of the Bible, Abraham was born in the city of Ur, one of the great cities that, in that age, had fallen under Amorite rule. Thus, the notion is not without foundation, and it is possible that Abraham was of that ancient tribe. And so it came to pass that the great cities of the plains, Uruk, Babylon, Larsa, and Mari, no longer bowed to their own kin. Their old lords were gone, replaced by kings of the Amorites, the wandering tribes. Yet these Amorites were not one people in heart or purpose. They were divided among themselves, each tribe holding fast to its own bond. The cities of Uruk and Babylon were governed by the Yamanites, the sons of the right, while Larsa and Mari were under the rule of the Simalites, the sons of the left. And so it was no mystery that Uruk and Babylon stood in friendship and alliance, for in those times the ties of tribe were stronger than walls of stone. And after the fall of mighty Ur, the city of Isin rose from among the fractured lands to claim power and renown. Its king was said to have come from the distant city of Mari, though whether he was an Amorite or a native son of Mari is lost beneath the sands of time. Yet many believe he too was of Amorite blood, for by then the Amorites held sway over many of the great cities of Mesopotamia. Seeking to cloak itself in the glory of fallen Ur, Isin moved swiftly to seize the sacred city of Nippur, holy heart of Sumer, where the great temples stood, as well as Ur itself, once the mighty political capital of kings. And for a moment, it seemed as though the lands of Sumer might once again be united beneath a single crown, with Isin as heir to the ancient greatness of Ur. However, the Amorite rulers of Larsa were not content to watch from the sidelines. They viewed Isin's rise as a threat to their own ambitions. Under the command of King Gungunum, Larsa launched a bold military campaign that shifted the balance of power overnight. In a series of surprising victories, they captured Ur from Isin, along with the cities of Uruk, Adab, and the holy site of Nippur. This sudden reversal shattered Isin's dominance. It gave birth to a fierce, long-standing rivalry between Isin and Larsa, a power struggle between two ambitious city-states that would come to define this entire era of Mesopotamian history. In the early 19th century BCE, the reach of Larsa finally stretched into the heart of central Mesopotamia. Yet the joy of these victories was short-lived. The ruling house was soon cast out, and a new dynasty rose to power under a man named Nur-Adad. Unlike the kings before him, Nur-Adad was a native of Larsa, a Sumerian rather than an Amorite. His reign appears to have emphasized traditional Sumerian religious culture, as demonstrated by extensive temple restoration projects in cities such as Eridu, Ur, and Larsa. Nur-Adad also commissioned inscriptions boasting of how he revitalized the economy and improved living conditions during his reign. In the year 1835 BCE, however, the dynasty of Larsa was overthrown again, and a new ruler rose upon its throne. Kudur-Mabuk, an Amorite lord whose coming restored Amorite rule over the city. Thus the crown passed once more from Sumerian hands to those of the western tribes who had long shaped the fate of Mesopotamia. But by this time, the Mesopotamian world had changed greatly from the days when Isin and Larsa alone struggled for mastery over Sumer. For while the two ancient rivals exhausted themselves in wars of ambition and conquest, a new power had quietly risen in the north, the city of Babylon. Under its king, Sumu-la-El, Babylon expanded its dominion across central and southern Mesopotamia, bringing cities and trade routes beneath its authority. And before long, its growing strength rivaled that of both Isin and Larsa alike. Thus, the balance of power began to shift, and the stage was set for a new struggle, one that would decide which city would inherit the legacy of the ancient kings of Mesopotamia. Then there arose in Larsa a ruler of extraordinary ambition and power, Rim-Sin, whose reign began in 1822 BCE and endured for nearly 60 years, the longest reign in Mesopotamian history. And as the might of Rim-Sin grew, fear spread among the neighboring kingdoms. A great coalition was forged against him, uniting some of the most powerful cities of Sumer, Babylon, Uruk, and Isin, all standing against the kingdom of Larsa. Yet Rim-Sin proved equal to the storm that gathered around him. In war, he shattered the coalition and humbled his enemies, affirming the strength of Larsa before all the lands between the rivers. So crushing was his victory that in time even mighty Isin fell beneath his hand. Thus ended more than a century of rivalry and bloodshed between Isin and Larsa, a struggle that had long defined the politics of Mesopotamia. And with the fall of Isin, Rim-Sin stood among the greatest rulers of his age, master of much of Sumer and heir to the ambitions of kings long past. Uruk, the ancient city of legendary kings and towering temples, also fell before the armies of Rim-Sin. And though the people of the city were spared from slaughter, Rim-Sin commanded that Uruk itself be laid to ruin, its walls broken and its glory cast down. This act strained the already fragile relationship between Babylon and Larsa, for Uruk had long been an ally of Babylon, and the rulers of both cities belonged to the same Amorite tribal lineage, the Ammonites. Thus, the destruction of Uruk was seen not merely as an act of conquest, but as an insult against kinship and alliance alike. And so, with Isin fallen and Uruk subdued, the lands of Sumer came increasingly under the shadow of Larsa, whose power had risen to its greatest height under Rim-Sin. And for a time, the region knew the stability of a single dominant crown. Yet even as Larsa held sway over much of the south, the foundations of that order were already beginning to crack. Babylon would rise from a regional kingdom into the architect of a new order, surpassing the old rivalries of Sumer and challenging the very dominance Larsa had built. The fate of Mesopotamia was about to turn. But that is a story for the next time.